Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Federation, and welcome to another State of the Federation, your one-stop news show for all the cool things happening in Star Trek Attack Wing right now. On today's show, we are going to be taking a look at all of Wave 8 at last. It's been a little bit over a week and a half since they released, and joining me as always are the Venerable. We have Tucker. How are you doing today, Tucker?
Oh god, if I'm the Borg, I've been infected with that virus from that one episode with Hugh. Oh god, I'm so sick.
You sick Borg. Do they sneeze nanobots?
No, there's that virus, and it's like a computer virus, and it's a pun, I guess. I don't know.
And of course, we also have David. David, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome, Bill.
Yes, we have all of Wave 8 this week. We're going to be looking at the Val Jean, the Enterprise E, and the Queen Vessel Prime. And, I don't know, what orders do you guys want to do this in?
How about the Val Jean first, and then we can maybe pull the audience on what they want second.
We will.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
We'll build the excitement. We'll go from the least exciting to the most exciting, maybe.
Well, unless you're a Les Mis fan.
True. Javert!
Javert!
All right.
Or unless you're a fan of repeatable attack cancellation and faction pure.
Ooh. All right. So, to start with, we have our wonderful name ship, the Val Jean. We are as a Maquis Raider, 2 attack, 3 agility, 3 hull, 3 shields. It comes with 2 weapons and 2 crew slots, so no tech on this baby. 22 points, has the standard kind of Federation, the good action bar, evade, lock, scan, battle stations. Its ability. During the modified defense dice step of the combat phase, you may disable up to 3 of your upgrades to add a evade result to your roll for each upgrade you disabled with this card. Alright, so just on the... Actually, no, before that, I need to bring up one other thing. So, you guys remember our lovely... what was that other raider called? The Gavroche?
The Gavroche.
Yes.
A comparison that I found out on Board Game Geek that I hadn't even noticed myself until we got to it, and I had to double check just to make sure. The Gavroche has a 90-degree forward firing arc. The Val Jean and its generic counterpart have a 90-degree forward and a 90-degree rear.
Really?
Yes. I think that makes a great difference in favor of the Val Jean, and I have no idea why the Gavroche did not get one itself as well. So, with that in mind, what do we think of the Val Jean? I mean, just the ship in general. The stats, I feel, are pretty good for... As much as I hate to admit it, a torpedo boat.
Yeah.
If you want a torpedo boat, I would say the Gavroche might be better, with the exception of the rear arc issue.
Mm-hmm.
The Val Jean is going to be so incredibly, annoyingly hard to kill.
Especially if you load it up with some really cheap upgrades that you can disable or re-enable every turn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the major saving grace of the Val Jean not having tech, weapon, crew is that you can't go Dr. Riker and 2 other crew dorks.
Mm-hmm. And just get those 3... Have just 3 upgrades that you could just re-enable easily at once for 1 action.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is trivial at this point to get cheap. I mean, like, you know, you could do captain. I mean, let's just say you're doing this as a support ship. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to do this as cheaply as possible, and you're not really interested in you're going faction pure. You're not really interested in too much cheesiness.
What?
You
That's
can
not what we're all
go-
about here.
I mean, okay, but like you can go. Where are my independent weapons? There they are. You can go, especially because it has a rear arc. You can go Hugh, Captain, Sakona, Goval, Plasma Torps for 27 points. Have 4 upgrades to disable. Goval if you need it. And 2 Plasma Torps to use in forward or rear if you want.
Plasma Torps. Or Plasma
Which on
Torp
a-
and Photon Torp combination.
Well, I would do. I'm saying first. Oh, you mean the? I could see that the advantage of Plasma Torps is that the Val Jean gets battle stations, so you can have Plasma Torp reroll with battle stations.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
David, what do you think about this guy?
I'm not even. I like the torpedo boat idea. If you want something that's annoyingly kill, Fuller's Con come to mind, kind of loaded up with crew.
And
Especially
each
if you
one,
have,
and each one would be cheaper than a red shirt.
yes.
And you'll-
And I'm thinking, especially if you have another ship in your fleet, maybe with the captain that grants extra crew and a discount crew.
Mm-hmm.
This can very easily be a torpedo boat that's also hard to kill. So there's some good options here. There's a lot of flexibility, and it can it can be that torpedo boat you want it to be. It can be something that's just a pain in the butt to kill. And I like what the ship does for 22 points.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question I have, Will. The wording on this is, during the modified defense dice step of your combat phase, you may disable up to 3 of your upgrade cards to add 1 evade result to your roll. Does this work against things where you don't roll defense dice?
That is an interesting question, and one that has not been directly answered by anyone in any kind of authority.
Well, the reason I ask is evade tokens definitely work. So does this work like an evade token, or do you need to actually roll dice in order to have a roll?
I believe you actually have to roll dice in order to have a modified defense dice step at all, including with an evade token.
No,
However,
that's not true. Evade tokens explicitly work against Borg missile. Chris Guild said that.
Chris Guild said something vaguely like that, and that is a point of contention that I have brought up on Board Game Geek.
I realize it's a point of contention, Will, but it's official as of now. So while you may not like it, it is still true.
Because he used the same wording that he did with the volley of torpedoes, and he reversed the ruling on that as well. He said, use what is appropriate. He did not say, yes, this works.
Well, here's what I'm cracking my rulebook here, which always loads really funny because I get it in PDF. And I'm looking up how evade tokens actually work.
You spend them during the modified defense dice step of the combat phase.
To cancel 1 damage. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, so that doesn't add an evade result to your roll. That just cancels 1 damage. So that's worded differently.
Actually, it says on page 14, spending an evade token, add 1 result to your roll.
Oh. Yes, you're right. During the okay, and it happens during the modified defense dice step. So if that ruling from Chris Guild stands, this works against Borg missile and Magnum thingy guided charges.
Yes. If it doesn't stand,
Okay.
well, then it doesn't work at all. But
That reminds me. Can I tell a funny anecdote?
uh-oh. Sure, go ahead.
Today somebody came on Board Game Geek asking if enhanced hull plating worked against Borg missile. I want you to think about that for a second.
Well, I mean, you could avoid the aux tokens.
No. Think about what enhanced hull plating does, Will.
All right, you're gonna have to explain the joke to me because obviously it went over my head.
Okay, enhanced hull plating says two things. First of all, it only works if you don't have shields, and second of all, you can add evade results at the cost of 1 aux token per evade result.
Oh, that's right.
Missile destroys shields and gives out aux tokens.
I forgot the aux part. Yeah, that would be a problem. I realized the shield part. You got me.
Yeah. Yeah, so it does literally nothing. Sorry, it's funny. Anyway, we should talk about other stuff, probably.
But since you did bring it up, this is kind of comparable to the enhanced hull plating.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of taking aux tokens, you're taking disables for it, and it generally takes a turn. You can generally remove one aux token a turn. This would be removing 1 disabled token a turn. Kind of comparable.
There's no card in the game right now that says take all of your aux tokens away. There are at least 2 that say get rid of all your disabled tokens.
There are combinations, though. Well, one combination that I can think of. But all in all, for this ship, even if you just threw lore on it, so you could get a couple followers of Khan, you're trading basically a point and a slot for an extra shield.
Actually, lore synergizes with this very well, because if you shoot after you're shot at, you can discard one of the cards you disabled to the Val Jean's evade to get lore's attack bonus.
Exactly my thoughts.
And lore lets you put Vulcan High Command on.
More followers of Khan.
More. Tie them to the hull. Let them take the hits.
There should at least be. By the way, unless you're using him on another ship, there is no reason not to use Gaval instead of at least 1 followers of Khan, because follower of Khan is terrible.
Yeah, but I still have 4 of them from my attempt to make a Miranda swarm back in Wave 0.
Oh, you know what I just noticed?
What did you just notice?
If they eventually are stupid enough to put out a resource that makes a crew independent, Calvin Hudson adds a tech slot to the Val. Or we should talk about Calvin Hudson later. I forgot he's from this pack.
Or we could talk about him now.
Mm-hmm.
How's that sound?
We should talk about Chakote first.
Chakote? All right, let's talk Chakote. Being as they both add slots, but Chakote. Add a weapon or a crew slot to your upgrade bar of your choice. He is a 4-point independent captain with 6 skill and a talent slot. His action, perform a second maneuver on your maneuver dial with a number of 3 or less. Place an aux power token beside your ship. If the extra maneuver is a red maneuver, place a second aux power token beside your ship. He's Little Picard.
Actually, he's engage. He engages.
He does. But without as many restrictions.
Yeah, it can be a white maneuver, and you don't have to do a green maneuver. So I like him.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of engage. So
he can do almost the full about template with the skilled helmsman.
He can
pull a 135-degree turn on the battleship.
On a ship with a white 1 turn, and I'm not sure what has that, I guess the Interceptor, he could do a full about.
Just a little longer, because the full about's a 1 turn and a 1 turn without the ship stopping in the middle.
Yeah, but he could turn a 180 is what I mean.
Yes.
And he can do that. He can do a wider one with a 2 or a 3, depending on what ship he's on.
Right.
And the thing that always works great with extra maneuvers is if you also put him on a ship that has sensor echo or cloaking and sensor echo, you have no idea where the heck he's going to end up.
Well, speaking of sensor echo, we have an elite talent coming up that'll address that, and later on in the show, we're going to have a card that makes this ability absolutely ridiculous.
I like your thoughts. But anything else to say for Chakote right now?
I would run this guy over Voyager Chakote all the time, every time.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Would you run him over young Picard? I don't even remember what young Picard does.
That requires some thought. What do you think? Young Picard, same points, equal skill. I would rather take an Aux token than disable all of my shields.
That's a good point. Hey, stop that. Come back over here.
But there will be times where young Picard is better because young Picard can do any white maneuver. So he could go forward 6 if necessary on the right ship.
An additional green or white maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're pretty comparable, though. So.
But Chakote can do red maneuvers.
That is true. So comparable. I like it.
Oh, gee, he could do a hard turn and then a come about.
On the right ship, I like it.
Turn and then back up on the right ship.
Ooh, wow, that's a spin maneuver.
Pretty much, yeah.
He could do a 3-point turn. He could back up if you have a auxiliary negating thing, and then do a turn. He knows how to drive, man.
Yeah, you know who he loves? God, he loves Chekhov. I just realized how much he loves Chekhov.
Yeah, it could be. It would be useful on the next turn at least.
Right.
You could do his ability every single turn.
In theory. The problem is if his extra maneuver is a red maneuver, like after you get rid of the second Aux token, you can't get rid of the first one because you can't take the action to take the extra maneuver.
Yeah, if only there was a card in Wave 8 that converted red maneuvers to white.
That'd be silly. I wonder where we could go. In the meantime, let's talk about Mr. Calvin.
Sorry.
Your spoiler alert! Alright, so Calvin Hudson, 3-point independent captain with 5 skill. He adds a tech, a weapon, or a crew, so he can give you a tech slot. If this card is assigned to an independent ship, all of your upgrades cost -1. That's pretty cool. Extra slot of almost any type, and you get the discount bonus. There's a lot of things you could do with this guy. None of them I can think of particularly spectacular, but he does allow a lot of flexibility in upgrades.
You can put him on an independent flagship battle cruiser with Sakona and get your volley of torpedoes for cheap. Along with a weapons fleet captain.
Weapons everywhere.
Granted, that's a little silly, but it's doable.
You know, you could actually... Oh, God. You could put him and Sakona on one ship and then Toth Gore on the other. And you could do, like, 2 volley of torpedo ships.
Ooh.
That'd be really hard, considering the battleship already costs, like, 32 or 34.
What? Can it only go on the battleship?
Battleship or battlecruiser?
Battleship or battlecruiser. All right, I'm going to see... Give me a second. You guys talk. I'm going to see how many volleys of torpedoes I can stuff onto one ship.
That sounds fun. Besides that, though, I can't think of any real good combinations for Calvin because he really doesn't have an action of his own.
No. He's a 5-skill captain that as long as you're able to put at least 3 things on, he's free.
And we like free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hudson just... The fact that Hudson and Chakote both grant extra slots, and Picard on the Enterprise E, it's starting to get silly. Like,
every captain adds a slot?
Yeah, it's like, if you want an extra slot, there's a card to get it. If you want 3 extra slots of a type, there's probably a way to get that too.
I think that's what they're going to just be doing. They're just going to keep bringing up all kinds of extra slots because everyone brings along their favorite security blanket in tech or or weapons or stuff.
Yeah. And so now it's like, what do you want? What do you want as your primary ship stats to build whatever you want? Is pretty much the only choice you have to make.
It's like, boom, I've got an interface generator on my Romulan Valdor.
Yeah. But
Or whatever.
with the right things, you can have interface generator and advanced cloaking and 2 copies of cloaked mines and a nullifier core and whatever else you want. It's like, you know, it just starts to get silly.
So I'm back from building, and it turns out that the restriction that Calvin, what's his name, has to be on an independent ship actually makes it really hard. So
because you would need the flagship, and you wouldn't be able to take the fleet captain.
right, or you're doing it on an independent ship, and there's no independent ship that has more than 2 weapon slots. Plus, you're giving up you're paying the faction penalty, so it cancels that anyway.
Mm-hmm. That is nice. So for you guys that play with some kind of interesting faction purity rules, does Calvin Hudson get around faction penalties?
No.
Yeah, no, he would just make whatever you actually take cheaper. He wouldn't work in penalty pure.
He would not work in penalty pure. And the only reason that people let what's his name, the Vulcan fly, is because he specifically refers to another faction.
Gotcha. That's cool. Insight into psychology. All right. So what's up next? I actually have no idea what's up next because these pictures are in some order and I don't know what they are. It looks like I'm looking at the lovely combative face of Tuac. 3-point independent crew upgrade. During the combat phase, after you complete an attack that you initiated, you may disable this card to immediately perform an additional 1 maneuver. Straight, bank, or turn. So, I'll ask Tucker this one. Does straight, bank, or turn mean you can do something that's not on your dial? Because this is another point of contention.
No color. No color means on your dial. This card sucks on Voyager.
Only banks. Well, I would like it on Voyager. I can still use with the 360 arc. I could then move potentially out of range.
I guess it sucks on Keldons.
Yeah, it does. And it sucks on the Science Vessel because, man, I would love to be able to do a 1 come about after I do my attack, or a 1 spin on my Borg Scout Cube. Oh no, for Tuac, this is a very rare and completely unique ability in this game right now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely want to pair this up with a high skill captain, so you shoot first and then potentially, you know, just run away out of arc.
Yeah, I like it for that though, because maybe this actually makes movement a little more important. I mean, it does in a world where every ship doesn't have a 360 arc.
Well, it's too bad that every Federation ship just got a 360 arc. Spoiler alert.
Yes,
No,
but
not quite, but
if they're all range 2 though, and you put Tuac on one of them, then your range 2 can then shoot and then get out of the other guy's range 2.
This game has gotten silly.
This game started silly. Okay, maybe it didn't start that silly, but it's been silly since the Borg came around.
Yeah.
Or you could say it got silly when they released the battleship. But that was a different that was a different kind of silly. That was the why would I this looks so cool, but why would I ever play it?
Oh yeah. Because 6 attack dice, Will. I mean, who the hell is ever gonna have 6 attack dice? I mean, you know, look, we know that the arc is terrible and the movement dial is worse, but that's the cost of 6 attack dice, right? They'd never make a ship with 6 attack dice that had an awesome movement dial and 360 arc.
I know, right? Man, I'm so glad I still play this game. I'm so glad. I wonder how Wave 5 is going to turn out next year.
God, don't you wish?
We're going to go back in time.
I just sometimes I really wish this game was handled the way they handle X-Wing.
That could mean a whole lot of things, and we're going to just move right on past that and go on to Balana.
Okay, that's fair.
Unless, David, do you have anything to add for Tuac?
No. He opens up possibilities, which is always a good thing. Mm-hmm. I think you have to build with him in mind if you want to try to incorporate him. I don't see him shaking everything up, but he's a nice little bonus.
The sad thing is, I can think of I can think of builds where I'd want to use both Tuacs at the same time.
Huh.
I can see that, yeah.
But moving on, Balana Torres, 4-point crew. Whenever you initiate an attack at range 3 during the roll attack dice step of the combat phase, ooh, excuse me. You may disable this card to gain +1 attack die or +2 attack dice if this upgrade is deployed to a ship with a hull of 3 or less. Not too bad. Except you have to maintain range 3, and with a ship that only moves forward, that's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm. I am fond of... one thing I really like about this card is the game designers may have finally realized that everything from Wave 4 forward has almost completely invalidated the combat use of anything with a hull of 3 or less.
Hmm.
This doesn't fix that, but it starts to.
It shows that they are maybe willing to move in that direction a little bit, which is nice. Hilariously, though, I don't like this on the Val Jean. I like her on the Galvarache.
I was going to say I like her on the Scout Cube, but each their own.
Yeah, yes, obviously she's good on the Scout Cube. But the reason I say the Galvarache is if you put Chakote or Calvin Chakote, yeah, Chakote can't do tech. So if you put Calvin, what's his ass, Hudson on the Galvarache,
that's his new
for
nickname.
tech. Yeah, if you do him and Balana. Actually, no. Let's go whole hog here. If you do lore with Vulcan High Command for crew and tech, and then you put Dr. Riker, Balana, and 2 other crew members on there, you can attack with 6 dice every turn.
Oh.
Mm. I would say you wouldn't be using Lore's ability, but you could if you wanted to get it up to 7.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, you could even get it up to 7.
on this lonely tiny little ship.
Yeah. At range 3.
And it's got battle stations inherent.
That's true.
I like
you'd be using your actions, though.
Oh. This is why we have Martok.
Yeah, this probably, by the way, also wouldn't be worth the points.
Hey. Do you think we're about nothing but winning here on State of the Federation?
I don't know. You tell me, Mr. I won a regionals and I'm now going to North Carolina to win another one.
Yeah, we're pretty much about winning. But we can have fun while we're doing it, too.
Winning is fun.
I know, right? But yeah. David, anything to say on this one? I lost him. That's okay.
No, I'm still here. I'm hemming and hawing. For what she does, the range 3 restriction hurts, and she's tough to use, and she costs too many points for what she does.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though she's not an action to give you the extra dice, she requires an action to be able to use her again.
Mm-hmm.
So, because of that, I'm just like, eh.
The only thing I can really see myself putting her on is something with a 360 arc that moves in 4 directions. because they can maintain range 3 more easily than anything else in the game.
She could be good on Fed Shuffle.
Maybe, but then if you're fighting against another player, then they just run up to you.
That's correct. Yeah.
If you're playing against the cube token in Collective 2, then sure. She would be pretty nice on the Sutherland or something.
Yeah, she's also better on ships that have combos that let you re-enable everybody.
Mm-hmm. Good old Phlox Lenalis or Riker or Doctor.
Yeah, and by the way, since the advent of Beverly, I'll talk about that when we get to Beverly.
All right, Phlox and Beverly. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll spoil it now. Phlox, Beverly, and Lenalis always works. I mean, people argue about Lenalis Doctor or Lenalis Phlox, but having both of them explicitly makes it work. There's no way that doesn't work.
All right. Looks like we've got some weapons now. I like weapons. We'll start with ramming speed. I'm sorry, ramming attack.
Oh.
It would have been better if
I wish it was called.
I know. It would have been better if it was just called ramming speed.
Yeah, but he doesn't say it. I'm going through Voyager now, and he actually doesn't say ramming speed in that episode. He just...
No, but yeah. I really want to put this on a ship with Worf.
Yeah, Worf in First Contact. The Defiant's down to nothing, and he says, "Prepare for ramming speed."
And
okay, what's really upsetting to me actually is that here's a downside of faction purity rules. Worf with ramming attack is actually really good because he lets you re-roll the attack dice and battle stations maybe. But you can't do it in faction pure. You can't even do it in penalty pure. This is very upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't do it with him on the Defiant.
That's the entire point, obviously.
I know. Maybe we can give him a Gorn ship or something. He likes Gorn, doesn't he?
According to STO canon, they are allies of the Klingon Empire, so maybe.
Hey, that could work. So, ramming attack, 3-point independent weapon upgrade. As an attack, you discard this card and immediately perform a 1 forward maneuver. If your ship overlaps an enemy ship, destroy your ship and roll 6 attack dice to damage the enemy ship. The enemy ship rolls -3 defense dice against this attack. This upgrade may only be purchased for a ship with a hull of 3 or less and cannot be used with the Cheat Death upgrade.
Ah.
This is going to be hilarious when they finally get around to inventing a new Cheat Death that's not named Cheat Death, and then it's going to work with all these cards again.
Yeah. So you know what makes this? You know what makes me really happy about this?
You get to yell ramming speed?
Aside from that.
What makes you very happy about this?
So you know how there's a retail Tholian ship coming out?
Mm-hmm.
The 14-point ship with 1 weapon slot?
Oh, I have the prize one, which is still 14 points in 1 weapon slot.
I know, but now it's going to be generally available, and it's going to be a lot easier to pick up, 5 of them.
And they are the proper shape, too. The pointy end goes into the other man.
That's correct. In fact, if you're ramming a Borg sphere, you can pretend you're reenacting the demise of the Executor from Star Wars 6.
That would almost be worth it just for the look on their faces.
Yeah. It's too bad this is a terrible strategy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The worst part being that they would get to shoot first. Unless you're going to spend a 9-skill captain on a ship that's going to kill itself. Because since this is an attack, it happens in the attack order of the attack step. Unlike Suicide Attack, which just went off before all the other attacks did. On the bright side, -3 defense is kind of nice. That will get you around pretty much everyone's defense, except the cloakers, and even the cloakers are going to be basically uncloaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cloakers, I mean, if I'm ramming you, I'd rather you have a couple defense dice and all your shields gone.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Klingon, actually.
Yeah.
No, you know what? I'd still make that trade. 2 shields for +1 defense die. I'd still make that trade.
Yeah, because more often than not, that evade die is going to miss.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like about ramming attack is that A, it's an attack. B, you get to decide if you're going to use it or not after everyone's moved, which is a very nice thing. That's what hurt the Jem'Hadar suicide attack.
And the Borg self-destruct sequence.
Yes. Yeah. It's got potential.
And
I still don't like, blowing up your own ship.
And
that's typically a bad idea.
And C, it doesn't take up a tech slot, it takes up a weapon slot.
Yeah.
I know a lot of ships that have extra weapon slots lying around.
Oh, yeah. I find it interesting that it's set at 6 attack dice. But, and since this is an attack, can you modify those dice if you have a target lock or a battle stations?
You should be able to. I seem to recall, though, some really obscure ruling that no one notices anymore with suicide attack, that since your ship is destroyed, all of your cards are gone before it happens. But I feel like that is silly and not correct in the slightest.
Yeah, because
otherwise Tasha Yar would not work at all.
Right.
And other things, among other things.
Yeah.
I seem to remember at one point at least, I thought there was a ruling on I stab at thee that went to this.
About what? If you can use dice on it? Or modifiers?
Stations, dice, whatever, yeah.
Well, the problem with I stab at thee was it was never an attack. It was just do damage.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Which, by the way, is a hilarious card to use with this card.
You're guaranteed to be in range 1.
That is true.
But then you're using a decent captain to actually have a talent slot.
I don't know about you, but I would not call Magnus Hansen a decent captain.
I know a not decent captain you can use on this. Romulan Commander.
Ooh, yeah, that would do it. 2
talent slots. His ability guarantees he goes first, but it gives him an Ox token, but ramming attack doesn't care because it's an attack. Suicide attack cares because it's an action.
Right, and his ability is an action, which doesn't work with suicide attack, but it works perfectly with ramming speed, which is what I'm going to call this upgrade.
Ramming speed?
Yeah. So take your action, shoot first, blow them up. Yeah.
Plus, if you remember Balance of Terror, that is absolutely a thing that guy would have done if he could.
Yeah. It would have been the last-ditch effort.
Yeah.
On a Tholian ship.
Yes, I love it.
All right. Next up on our weapons block, we have the Photon torpedoes. Basic Photon torpedoes, 5-point independent weapon, 5 attack. Does the basic, you may convert a battle station to a crit, may fire from your forward or rear arcs. Nothing very special here, except I like this particularly more than every other faction because Independent has a lot of ships that have very low attack, and this would make a very big impact on.
Yeah.
Not the least of which the Val Jean, which, as we have seen, now has a rear firing arc, which is really cool. And also the even the Tholian ship, which is only 2 attack and has a weapon slot. I mean, for 19 points, you have your 5-2-2-1.
Is this real talking about a torpedo boat?
I know, right? Well, for the most part, they don't make sense point-wise, but in this case, you actually save a point on it.
It's true.
Also, the Reliant torpedo boats weren't too bad either. Basically anything, if the attack is more than 3 below the torpedo, I'm okay with it.
So, by the way, our Tholian vessel with Romulan Commander 2 I stab at these and ramming attack comes out to 29 points.
Really? That's it?
Which, yeah, I mean, they're going to see him coming from a mile away. The Tholia ship is not fast, but if you maybe use a slingshot flagship or something, which one is that? Is that Dominion? Yeah. Which is not the best one, but
I mean, either that or you could speed things up with the Independent Federation fleet captain a little bit.
Yeah, you could do that.
Or Picard maneuver. Well, nah, let's forget Picard maneuver.
No Picard maneuvers. Or what's his name? No, because you're not going to want to use your action. I was thinking of the Admiral Forrest, but I mean, I guess what I want to say is this is in some. There is a use for a 29-point bomb.
What did you say this was on? Was this on the Tholian ship?
Yeah.
Because you could just as easily fit this on a on one of the 16-point Bird of Preys or even the 14-point Praetus.
I don't think those have weapon slot.
The Praetus and the Praetus and the Romulan Bird of Prey do. It's the science vessels
the Praetus does. It's actually the non-unique Praetus. Oh, you might as well use the unique. It's one of those. Yeah, that's true. It would be 2 points more expensive though, because of faction penalties.
Oh, right, because the Romulan faction penalty doesn't take that off.
Yeah. I guess. Oh, you know what I just noticed? Hey, here's one reason ramming attack is not as good as suicide attack. It's an attack, which means it can be canceled.
Yeah. I'm going to Varel your ship. Now the question is, does it cancel it before you destroy your ship or after you destroy your ship?
Destroy your ship and... I don't actually know if this is an attack.
Other than that, the card says the word attack.
Yeah, I mean, it takes an attack instead of an action, but it just says roll... No, it says the enemy ship rolls -3 defense dice against this attack. It's an attack. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so they can barrel your... yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that'll be it'll be another thing to sit in the FAQ for another couple months.
Well, you know, it must be that your ship still gets destroyed simply because you don't not disable torpedoes or Borg missile or whatever if your attack is canceled. You still have to pay the cost of the attack.
Mm-hmm.
That's one expensive cost.
Yeah. Well, only 29 points, give or take.
There should be a thing that if ramming attack or suicide attack doesn't deal any damage, your ship stays alive. Because obviously you missed, right?
Yeah. It could just be that you you like didn't hit them hard enough to damage them or something, but you blew your own ship up.
Yeah. I've seen that happen on the highway all the time with like cars. One car's totaled and the other one took no damage.
Yeah. I sail on a ship in the summer, and when we think about hitting little motorboats, we call it "we paint, they swim."
All right. Let's see. We've got a few more cars we have to look at that were not part of the preview, so here's where the new stuff starts coming in. We have Elite Talent, Invasive Pattern Omega, 3-point talent. After all ships have moved, if you are in the forward firing arc of an enemy ship and that ship is not in your forward firing arc, you may disable this card to immediately perform a sensor echo action even if you do not have it on your action bar. Let's see. Nice things about this would be that number one, it's only a disable. Number two, it happens after all ships have moved, so this is something that happens between the action and the attack phases, which is pretty nice. Also, you only have to be in one ship's arc, so if you're pointing at another ship and you don't have access to one of the ships shooting at you, then you can just get away.
Downside, does not work against Borg.
Yep.
Upside, amazing with Chakote. Really good on the Soong.
Oh yeah. Especially number one, I'm very surprised that this is not a discard ability. Every other card we've seen even close to this is a discard ability.
I'm really happy it's not. I am really getting sick of cards, expensive elite talents that require me to discard them. I just don't. I really hate running them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they need to be something like Cheat Death to really get me to invest 5 points on a discard. I mean, this is 3, but you take my point.
Yeah.
Not only does it cost less, it's less permanent, and you can use it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's a nice ability.
It's nothing to sneeze at. Granted, if you're facing Borg, you're probably not going to... Sensor Echo probably wouldn't have saved you in the first place, so I feel that mitigates it a little.
This isn't... Don't think of this as a save you card. Think of this as I get another chance to put the guy in my forward firing arc.
Oh yes, especially if any of you remember from way back in the day the Armchair Admiral article, the Duck and Weave, or whatever I called it.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something funny about that after the show. Just remind me.
Nice. But yeah, this talent is, for the cost, for the effect, it is one of the better talents out there. The problem with all other things, though, is that it doesn't work against Borg. So,
by the way, there's one more thing I want to point out.
Let's go for it.
If this is on the highest skill captain, you can use it before your action.
Oh yeah. If you move last, then that's after all ships have moved.
I feel like that was a terrible wording oversight, but hey, if it works, I'll go with it.
Well, you know, they do say things like at the end of the activation phase, or the end of the planning phase, or whatever. They even could have just said at the beginning of the combat phase.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think this is intentional. Or WizKids doesn't know what they're doing.
Nah, that couldn't be possible. All right. What do we have next then? 5-point talent, be creative. Oh, yeah, also these are both unique, so, well, most of the stuff on this ship is unique. Actually, let me go back.
Yeah.
Nope, ramming attack is not unique. That makes me
Correct.
happy. Alright, so, be creative. You may disable this card at any time to replace one evade, scan, or battle station token beside your ship with a evade, scan, or battle stations token. This is disobey orders that disables instead of discards for an extra 2 points.
An extra 3 points, and it's unique.
Is disobey orders not unique?
Disobey orders, at least in my builder, is not marked as unique. Also, it's 2 points, not 3.
Gotcha. I was probably remembering one of the old arguments. If you put disobey orders on Kirk, it actually costs more. Which was hilarious. Nope, that was early in the that was in the Dominion prize pack, so that was still before they made everything unique. But be creative, switch out a token. Not bad. At least it's not a discard, but I'm not sure where I would really see myself using this. It seems very very situational.
Yeah, I don't even use disobey orders, and it's not because it only costs 2 points. It's not because it's a discard.
Mm-hmm.
I've very rarely seen the use for this. It's only good on a super high skill captain.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I could see this being useful on something like the Soong or the Galar classes, which don't have a particular action, but can get one of the others.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
So like the Soong can take the evade, and then you can switch it out for the battle station, and then while you're turning around to come for another pass, you can re-enable this because you have nothing better to do.
I feel like if you have nothing better to do, you're probably doing it wrong.
Or you can make it so you have nothing better to do. But yeah, there is definitely that. I could see this with the Galler class where you can't actually turn around that quickly, especially. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? That's all
I guess I could see it for Romulans. Take the evade, but then really change it into a battle station.
That'd be pretty helpful, especially under cloak.
Yeah. I just don't see it as a long-term solution.
Yeah, the action economy is just really rough on it.
And action economy on Klingons and Romulans is already pretty tough.
Because number one, you have to take the token first, and then you have to re-enable this too. So that's 2 actions to get 1 token.
Right. So unless you've got a flagship that gives you a free evade,
which is not a bad flagship.
No, it's not. It's rough. It's a tricky balance.
All right, 2 more cards left, and oh my gosh, we're running so far over time.
No, we're not. Oh my God, we are.
All right, we're gonna start speeding through these, I think. Kenneth Dolby. Action, disable this card to repair 1 damage to your hull or shields, or action, discard this card to repair up to 2 damage to your hull or shields. For 2 points. Not bad. 2 points for essentially an additional 2 hull or shields is pretty darn good deal for compared to even the even my usual standard go-to Kyle or Scotty.
Yeah, I like that Dolby doesn't have prerequisites, and he doesn't have drawbacks.
Hull or shields is super nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially when it's like, oh, I can regenerate hull but not shields, or hey, I can build back shields but I can't repair that crit that's hurting us a lot. Kenneth Dolby can pick up a fire extinguisher.
That's correct.
Finally.
Yeah, I mean, for the cost, he's a pretty darn good upgrade. I mean, the only other one that's kind of comparable even is maybe like Buka, since she doesn't even take an action, but she only does hull, and she's cheap too. But yeah, this guy's like pretty solid all around card, and very nice point cost.
Yeah.
I would not go for an infinite loop with him with Wayun though.
No, definitely not.
All right.
Too slow. Too many actions.
On to Seska.
Yeah.
This is our new Seska. She is an independent 5-pointer crew. Action. Discard this card and disable one of your other upgrades to target a ship at range 1 to 3. Target ship cannot attack your ship this round.
Broken.
Tucker, why do you think it's broken?
I've made at least 3 different builds to cancellations out of her. I've made at least 3 different, not in one round, obviously, but I have made 3 different, let me specify, 3 different faction pure builds that get at least 11 activations out of her.
The thing I don't like about her is that, number one, she's in action herself. So if you're using something to re-enable, like Wayun, to keep her around, then you need to re-enable yourself before you activate her action again.
Wait, she's in action?
She's in action.
How does that work?
You spend the action, discard this card, and disable one of your other upgrades to target a ship at range 1 to 3. She's Salok with a longer range.
I may have been doing this wrong. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Maybe not as broken as we thought.
Oh, no, all you have to do is add
Riker?
Riker and the Doctor, who you want to use with her anyway, and she still works.
You can use Riker, Seska, Doctor, and Lee Nollis to keep Wayun alive.
Yeah, and that actually even deals with multi-attacks, yeah.
And how about Beverly Crusher while you're at it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess not possible in Faction Pure unless you run another ship to gank Nahus or Crusher off of.
Mhm.
But that's not Faction Pure. Okay. I feel substantially better about this now.
Excellent. But yeah, apart from that, though, I mean, she's still for a basic attack canceling card, she is a pretty darn good one since she cancels the attack, but she still allows you to attack.
Mm-hmm.
And the other nice thing is that you disable one of your other upgrades. It doesn't have to be anything like a crew, especially. It could be, like I was looking at some of Tucker's build, you know, a 1-point aft phaser bank thing or something.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can do just with independence alone to get like really cheap stuff. I think one thing I tried, for example, was taking putting an independent flagship on a Jem'Hadar battleship and just giving it 10 million dorsal weapon ways with Sakona, making them all 1 point.
Yeah.
Super cheap. Oh, you were trying to stick Faction Pure. I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, look, this card. If you're not going Faction Pure, there's not much of a reason to use this over Barrel for your attack cancellation needs.
Mm-hmm.
But in Faction Pure, thanks to the properties of both independent flagships and independent fleet captains, it's very easy to set up attack cancellation again.
Mm-hmm. All right.
See.
With that is the Val Jean. Let us move on to Enterprise E.
Sure, since nobody
Yeah.
did, let's just go for the E.
Let's go for the E.